All right. So, first question I always ask is for the person to give me a little bit of a background on how long they've been looking into cognitive functions and how much clarity they think they have about their type without telling me what they think they are.
Okay. I wouldn't say I have much clarity on my type. I've been typed as INFP, INFJ, and ENTP over the internet. But past that, not really sure and hesitant to kind of definitively type myself
Okay.
based on those results. Because I wouldn't say my knowledge is adequate enough, and I'm also scared to be deluding myself when I go about typing
Sure. You don't want to
without an external source or perspective or yeah.
you don't want to find yourself advocating a certain position on the matter only to determine later that you have to retract your support for the position you once advocated.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So let me ask this some sort of just general life questions or thoughts questions and let you kind of answer some open-ended stuff like this and see just to get rolling here. Uh, what is your position on politics? Are you, regardless of, I'm not saying specifically, but like, do you have positions on politics? Are you ambivalent about politics? Do you think it's dumb to care about politics or something in between? Or what do you
I
say?
don't think it's dumb, but I just haven't been able to kind of spend the time to get adequately informed to take a position in politics with a political party or something. My friends tell me I'm independent, but like I would be independent. Like my behavior reflects people who are independent. But yeah, apart from that, not really um, informed in politics.
How involved are you in socializing with same-aged peers outside of the internet?
Um, I do that a lot. I'm pretty sociable. I have a good amount of friends. I would say more so in real life than on the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so let me ask you to give me some specific details about some recent past experiences and see how you do with the SI. So, can you recall a time recently when you were driving? Do you drive? No, you don't drive. Okay.
Nope.
So then let me change this up. A time recently when you were socializing with a group of people that was between 3 to 5 people other than yourself. On a specific occasion when this occurred within the last couple of weeks.
Okay. I was in class. I had just finished my finals test for Spanish, and me and three other people were talking about how we were talking about if a junior was to fuck a freshman, would that be as weird as a freshman fucking a sixth grader? That's what we were talking about. And my friend was like, "Well, I think it's weirder for a freshman to fuck a sixth grader." But I was saying that the age discrepancy is around the same, and that's what actually sets the weirdness in those relationships.
Okay, so as you see here, Taylor showed up, and he didn't know I was with the client, so he just came by. But if you'd like to get his input on this matter too, and he feels like sticking around, then it's up to you. If you, he's got,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, cool. So Taylor, just I'll try to pause to remember to ask you to chime in periodically, or if you have something to say, just chime in. Uh,
Are we recording
I
or
am recording this for as I always do for the person. I upload it and show
okay?
it privately, but then sometimes, occasionally, a person will be after the fact will say, "Oh yeah, I would like to have that published," and I'll just publish it. So, am I
Okay.
recording for the channel? I don't know for sure yet.
I'll just I was just bouncing around to every appearing room to try to find people to kick it with, but
It's nice
I'll
to
just
see you,
keep.
but
Nice to see you too,
all right,
and nice to meet you, dude.
Okay, so that was that was good specific detail. I want to double check or triple check this to make sure though, because I made a mistake in an earlier typing where I didn't double check it enough. So let me ask you another SI specifics question. Do you ever go like hiking in the mountains or any kind of nature outdoorsy activities kind of thing?
When that does happen, I'm usually forced into doing it. I'm not exactly keen on outdoor activity, but I will do it if people are insisting that I should with a group of friends or whatnot.
Can you remember an occasion when that happened when you reluctantly went out on an outdoor activity?
It's been a while. Probably can't recall any specific memories since it's been so long. But I mean, yeah, I
Okay.
can't remember any.
Um, do you have any neighborhood stores you go to regularly buy something such as, well, if you smoke cigarettes or if you don't smoke, like a soda or something like that?
Um, I mean, I don't really go alone. When I do, it's usually with friends. I can recall an event like that where it was like after school and we went to go out and eat or whatever.
Yeah, go ahead, do that one. Give me
Okay,
some
so
examples.
okay, so I was in class. It was last period, and my friend Ted comes up to me, and he's like, or no, I was saying, "Do you want to smoke after school?" And he's like, "Sure." Um, Me and my friends are gonna go out. We're gonna go eat, and we can like smoke before then or whatnot. And I was like, "Yeah, it's cool." We went and did that, and
So you guys
yeah,
made some smoked meats. You mean, right? You made
yeah,
some beef jerky, some turkey jerky. Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I hear young people are into
exactly.
that these days.
Right, yeah, yeah, like the 4th of July.
All right, cool. Um, all right, so that's a lot of SI kind of detail in general. Um, you probably could tell me who was there, or at least most of the people who were there. You could probably tell me some conversation that occurred while you were smoking. I don't know. Could you?
Did I? I'm not sure. Um, did we have? You know, those things are really hazy, and
Okay. Well, what did you have? Do you remember what you had for breakfast this morning?
I don't eat breakfast. Or no, I had donuts, but that wasn't really breakfast. That was the first thing I had to eat, but it wasn't in the time of breakfast or where you would consider breakfast.
Okay. What do you think are the most important values to uphold? I guess it's an open-ended question. Let's ask that first. Then I'll give you some this or that questions.
Values?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I guess trying to arise conflict needlessly, that's something I try to stray away from doing. Because I guess I have done it before. I've kind of realized that it's pretty petty and it's gotten me to some bad places socially. So um, that's one thing I'm aware of nowadays.
Social grace is a value. Okay. So
Yeah,
you want to uphold the value of social grace in general.
that's yeah. I would okay. Yeah, that's something I'm aware of
What about the
socially.
value of authenticity? Do you think that those two things conflict?
Usually when someone's being or trying to be true to themselves, I guess that can arise conflict with what the herd values essentially, or what the herd expects from the individual.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Do you participate in a fair number of group decision making processes, such as what movie are we all going to go see tonight, and then I want to go see this, no, I want to go see this.
Yeah, I'm pretty indifferent to those decisions. I usually just go with what everyone's insisting that we do, and I usually just stay on the sidelines and kind of look at what's going on.
Does that work that way in conversation too? You lay back, wait for other people to set the table, and then you clear the table, or are you a table setter?
I okay, so sometimes I do um, offer up ideas on what we could do, like yeah, but most of the time, okay, past that point when everyone's just discussing what we should do, I'm just usually in the sidelines, or in like just yeah. I'm not pressing for any particular idea or thing or event or whatever.
Okay, this guy
Cool.
is Pot Frog.
Like Kermit.
No, like Pot Frog, because he holds pot stuff in him. Pokers, weed, stuff like that. Okay?
Okay.
His current name is Pot Frog. But
Did you say
weed, yeah, marijuana.
right? All right.
That's his current name is Pot Frog. But I'd like to change Pot Frog's name, and I can't think of any other names for him. Can you provide 5 possible other names I could name Pot Frog?
Peterson.
Okay, there's one.
Peterson. Tadpole.
2.
Pond. Creek. And elevator. I don't know where that came from.
You could name Pot Frog all those things. Are any of those good names for Pot Frog?
I would say Peterson. Do you know why I'm saying Peterson?
Because Jordan Peterson sounds like Kermit.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. That's a pretty good one. I agree. The first one was a pretty good one. The interesting thing is you did like class association when you came up with other things. You went Jordan Peterson, then you went back down to frog, right? You went stream, creek, or body of water, basically. And then
Right.
elevator, which sort of suggests a lateral shift from motion horizontally to motion vertically or something. I don't know. But
that's weird.
if I were to present you with, well, let me do it actually. So I'm going to give you 5 names for the Pot Frog, other than Pot Frog, and you tell me which you think is the best name. Okay, so name number 1 is platform of smoking. Okay, that's one possible name for him. Platform of smoking. Another possible name is
that one's already out.
you don't know how bad the other ones are going to be yet, though.
That's true.
Well, the poker pad, because mostly it's pokers that are on there to poke things. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3 will be a very froggy April 20th. Number 4 will be Pot Buddy. Number 5 will be Marcus, the marijuana miscreant frog. Which is the best
I like
of
that
all
one.
those names? You like that one, huh?
I like that one.
You think it's better than Pot Buddy?
Yeah.
What do you think's going to sell more? What do you think's going to sell more product?
I would say Pot Buddy, but I picked number 5 just because it was, funnier. That's why.
Okay.
But Pot Buddy probably would sell more. Yeah.
All right. So actually, kind of a good business idea. Just get a bunch of these random frogs, and just advertise it with pictures of pot stuff in it, and go Pot Buddy, the perfect pot thing.
Yeah, it's very versatile. You can use it for many different things.
Yeah. Okay, so, let me ask you about 2 conflicting values here: efficacy or efficiency versus legitimacy. So, is it better to know how to get the job done and get from point A to point B, or to make sure that you are doing the right job? Make sure that point A to point B is the right thing to go.
Like it's true, like it's correct.
Yeah, right.
I want to say the second choice. I'm not in my own life. I'm not exactly attuned to what's most efficient. But I should have told you before we started this call. There's one thing I am kind of sure on, and it's that I do think I'm on the TIFE conscious axis in my stack, my conscious stack. So I would say correctness, because I do see that in my thought process, and I do see myself attending to other people's emotions and perceptions
Well, yeah,
when I walk
I
into the
also
room.
think you're TIFE for sure.
Okay,
But
so
that seems pretty evident. Uh, it seems pretty evident because, well, if one little thing you did, which was correct yourself on one occasion to a slightly different thing than what you said, which is normal TI behavior. You're kind of
yeah,
changing
and
your
that's like
mind on that.
correctness, right? That's valuing correctness rather than
It's valuing legitimacy, which is to say communicative legitimacy.
Okay,
If
yeah,
you are right in a way that is communicable to other people and can be determined whether you're right without hearing it spoken aloud. See, if you can convey a certain amount of extroverted feeling information in text, obviously, but a lot of the emotional tones are extracted when something's typed into like an email or something versus spoken aloud.
right,
And so, whether or not an argument withstands scrutiny is something that everybody can check externally. So, in that sense, being a TI user simply means I want what I'm saying is true. I want other people to agree with me. I don't want any personal subjective qualities that will make it impossible for other people to make a determination. I want to give everybody else data they can look at themselves independently so that everybody can make an independent determination of it and not withhold some key components within myself that you need to know in order to see that I'm right. So if you're an introverted feeler, in order to understand how and why you're right, I have to put myself in your shoes. But to understand an introverted thinker, I have to remove myself and yourself from the equation entirely. It's a
yeah,
disinterested calculus.
yeah.
Okay, so I agree you're TIFE, and then the question becomes really, you're looking at probably, you could be Alpha Quadra like ESFJ or ISFJ, but I'm leaning ENTP or INFJ is where I'm leaning at the moment.
INFJ, really?
I'm leaning to one of those two. And
Okay,
the reason is because they're both TIFE and they're both very metaphysical types. But I haven't really, when I tested your NE a second ago, that was, you obviously aren't any polar. There's no doubt about that. But it
there's
didn't,
no doubt I'm not any polar.
you were correct. You are absolutely not any polar.
It's funny. I've been typed ISTP, and the people who typed me were like, "There's no question you're an ISTP."
See,
That's like kind of funny.
another example of a TI user is you're very aware of the mechanical relationships between the cognitive function. So, it's like that displays a fairly high level of understanding when I say you're you're not any polar and you are able to say, well, that eliminates ISTP and eliminates ISFP. It means you're doing good TI parsing about the thing in general. So it just reinforces the TI thing.
Parsing.
But you know what? I want to make sure you're not any polar. So let me triple, quadruple, 5 times check over because the thing you gave me there, the 5 different names for Pop Frog, that was, it seems like more like NI to me than NE. But let me try a couple of different ones. So imagine now instead that I've invented a new machine, and it's a machine that automatically gives you a bowl haircut in just 30 seconds. A perfect bowl haircut. Perfect round all the way around. Shaves everything from here down, and makes it all exactly the same height, like 2 centimeters. So it's like the quickest haircut you can get. It's instant convenience haircut, but you just have to have a bowl haircut. The only thing I can come up with as a name is the very fast bowl haircut maker, and that seems like a bad name. Can you help me come up with 5 other names for this machine?
Um, the circumference cut, the 360 cut, the Shazam cut, the without a doubt cut, the in and out cut.
Okay. Mama's barber friend. Mama's barber sugar daddy. And he gives out free haircuts. You see, this makes him her sugar daddy. Okay, well, you gave me 5 different names. Now, each of them had the word cut in it, but you gave me a different angle of attack on it. That would suggest to me that it's not polar extroverted intuition and it's not dominant extroverted intuition. But let me ask another extroverted intuition kind of question. I'm going to tell us part of a story, and I want you to try to complete the story for me, okay? So,
Okay.
once upon a time, there's a little boy named Juan and a little boy named Jacques. And what had happened was their two families were traveling north and south, respectively. Jacques' family was traveling south from French Canada. Juan's family was traveling north from Tijuana. And both the children get lost at the Mall of America as their families both incidentally forget about them and continue
At the Mall of America.
Yeah.
Okay.
And both families accidentally forget about their respective kids and continue on. Juan and Jacques are stuck in the Mall of America, so they run into each other. And Jacques, who's a little older, says, "Why are you upset, little boy?" But he says it in French. And Juan, who doesn't speak French but understands it, replies in Spanish, because "Que triste, mi familia has left me behind." And then Jacques, who doesn't speak Spanish but understands it, replies, "Oh, que mal," or whatever it is in French. The same thing happened to me. Now, continue the story from where I left off.
Okay. Jock says, "Well, let's take out," or Jock takes out some like Google Translator and decides to, so they can have efficient communication between each other. And after that, I don't actually remember their names.
Jacques and Juan.
Okay, Jacques and Juan start communicating over Google Translator, in which they both start to exchange information, and they then proceed to call each other's families and relocate themselves in an agreed location.
So you mean, are they reuniting with their families, or are they relocating somewhere without their families?
They are reuniting with their families, so they go take an Uber to the agreed location, but the car breaks down. So they both get out of the car and they decide to hitchhike towards the agreed location in which their families are at. So they're hitchhiking right now.
All right. Hold on. Now I want to get Taylor involved here, because I'm beginning to think you're an ESTP. Taylor, do you have any thoughts on that?
Okay.
I have not been paying attention, but if you want to bring me up to speed, I'll chime in.
What I'd rather do is ask you to ask him some sort of questions that might help you determine if you think he's an ESTP or has SE at the top of his stack. He's not an ISTP. I'm quite sure of that.
Why?
Well, because when I ask him any questions, he's able to do it without too much difficulty, but it tends to be a bunch of concrete NE stuff. He doesn't seem like an ISTP. But you understand STPs well, so if you want to ask him some questions or
Okay.
load some stuff for it.
Why don't you keep going and I'll start paying attention and catch up and just kind of get a bearing, because I've been arguing with Damon. He's such a fucking J. He's such a fucking ENTJ. Anyways,
I think he might be an ESTJ though. He might be.
He's a TE. He's so fucking TE.
He's so TE, right? Okay, but then let me ask you a question that might be relevant to Taylor understanding your SC a bit more. You've talked about how that you don't really like to do a lot of physical stuff, right?
How old are you?
Yeah.
How old are you?
16 or 17. Sorry.
Do you play any sports?
I used to, but I stopped because I didn't really like it, and it's definitely not for me.
Why?
I would say, well, one, I just genuinely don't enjoy it, and two, I've delved more so into creative fields, and I actually enjoy that much more.
Such as, what's a creative field?
Like filming, writing and filming. I guess they both confound each other because I do both of writing and filming.
Are you likely to... Do you get caught up in... So when you're filming,
Yeah.
how likely are you to get caught up in the details of the project and lose track of the whole thing you're trying to do? Because, like, I've been fucking with this little light here to try to get the lighting in this goddamn room right for way too long. Do you do things like that?
Mm, I don't think I do. No,
Do you slay the push?
I tend to ignore those things. I would
Do you
say.
draw?
No, I don't. I used to. I don't anymore.
Are your surroundings clean or cluttered or
It's pretty fucked up.
fucked up?
Yeah, I would say so. That's what my parents say. So
How much push do you slay?
I would say a moderate amount, not a lot like some of my friends, but I mean, yeah, just I mean, I have some friends who are virgins, and I would say I've just fucked one girl.
Do you know where the G spot is? Remember this. 2 knuckles deep and then push up. I don't know what. I mean, I don't. There's nothing that would rule out. He's got kind of an ISTP vibe to me, but I don't know how to look for NE nearly as well as you do.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can eliminate ISTP better than I have currently.
I mean, when you ask him questions, do you have him do the NE or do you provide NE and see if he hits it back? Because they can hit it back for a little while.
I tried both approaches so far, but let me try this one. How can give me 5 different ways to retrieve something from the bottom of the ocean?
Okay, well, you can call a company to do it. You could dive in and swim. Get a submarine. You can get a submarine going to the bottom of the ocean. You can try to get a fishing pole and try to fish it out. An extremely long one.
That's not polar NE. I've asked that question to ISTPs and ISFPs, and they go like, scuba divers? And? I don't know, you could...
Right. What sports did you... Look back to that. What sport did you play, and when did you quit?
I wrestled, and I quit halfway through my second year. I'm actually wearing a wrestling shirt right now.
That was a useful sport. I only did it in middle school, but...
Useful sport?
Useful. The shit you learned.
To fight people in the bar, just in case. Right.
Absolutely.
If you pull it out, the skills, yeah.
I mean, just the principles of moving somebody's head.
Are you talking about like the discipline?
No, I'm just talking about like the little things that you learn, like where if you want to move somebody's body, move their head, right? But that through wrestling got so ingrained and automatic in my mind that when I was getting into fights later, I just automatically would do that. You know, like it's just one of those things you pick up. You learn how to toss people around. You don't want to have to think about that shit down the road.
Let me ask you about how you respond to that. Is it your basic position that, yes, okay, it's good to have some skills because you may end up having to fight at some point and you'll need to use them? Or do you more resonate with the idea that I'm never going to be skillful enough for it to be a good idea for me to fight anyway?
Well, I would say the first option.
Okay.
I mean, I've been into fights before, so I mean.
Right. I mean, I agree with the first option too. Even though I also agree with the second. It's like if I'm fighting, it's bad news. Something's gone horribly wrong.
Right. Yeah, I would rather not fight.
And I'm gonna lose, but maybe if I had a little bit of skills, I might lose a little less immediately and badly. So I guess I sort of agree with the first one. But again, if I'm fighting, I've miscalculated somewhere. I really have.
Eric is dangerous with a Glock. Put a Glock in that man's hands and nobody's safe.
That's not true. I'm very gun safe, Taylor. Okay, so let me see. It doesn't sound like you're a censor, really, in the terms of your your typical values, right? You're not valuing particularly the typical SE DOM sort of things, but let's talk about what it actually manifests more as a process. It's kind of a following through process plus an opportunism process. So an SE DOM will both be effective at completing the steps of a small action all the way through without getting sidetracked, but they're not necessarily effective to follow through over the long term for a lot of things because they're also opportunistic and they can switch gears at a moment's notice. Does that?
Okay.
The alternative is
Yeah.
an extroverted intuitor, which is somebody who doesn't like it when circumstances demand we actually implement decisions now and do shit. They just like to continue talking about it indefinitely. So, which one do you think you more resonate with?
Like for instance, with the sensing stuff, I get sidetracked a shit ton when I try to attend to schoolwork. Well, school's over now, but like for instance, when I was studying for finals, do you remember that passage you analyzed that you put on your channel? Oh, you're hitting your bong now.
Which passage? What, you mean the comment?
It was the conversion.
Oh yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So at that point, I was studying for finals, which is what I should have been doing. And midway through, I was just getting way too bored, and I just decided to randomly write that passage out, and which is what I did. And I don't really think that's following through on a particular activity. I don't know. Maybe you have a different definition.
That is not following through.
Yeah, it's not, and that's what I did.
That's typically indicative of extroverted intuition running away from you, but I think extroverted sensors could be the same way on the internet potentially.
What's that? Distracted?
No, it's something running away from you. Like for example, he's doing his homework and then he catches a bit of an idea from some other place, and all of a sudden he's writing out this thing of ideas he has about this thing, and he's not doing his homework, but he's doing something that would be homework if somebody had assigned it.
Got 18 tabs and 3 projects and foreign buffering.
Yeah, no, I multitask all the time when I'm studying. I can't just attend to one thing.
Okay.
I rarely do that.
So these answers could apply to either SE or any. I mean, Taylor, you do that too, right? That same sort of like getting carried away with some one thing and finding yourself way off track from what you're supposed to be doing, or not?
I do, but I mean it's inconsistent. I super do if I think project's dumb. Like if I really think it's a stupid assignment that I don't want to do, or if I'm waiting for the Adderall to kick in, right? Like that lie you tell yourself, like I'm just gonna play Xbox until the Adderall kicks in, and it's 6 in the morning, and you're like, fuck, I gotta get more Adderall.
Yeah, that's relatable.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, in the colloquial sense of the word, where people talk about extroverted meaning more sociable or less sociable, basically, would most people call you extroverted or introverted?
No, most people will probably call me detached, and sort of quiet. I've heard that a lot. That people say I'm quiet. I get my energy from socializing. I do think I'm an extrovert, but not in the colloquial sense.
Okay.
I could be an introvert. I don't know. I'm just self-reporting. So, who knows?
Sure. Let me see if I can figure out an NI question to ask you of some sort. How many apples do you think it takes to make an apple pie?
1.
No.
No, okay, so no, I thought you meant applesauce. Sorry,
No, how
yeah,
many apples does it take to make an apple pie?
apple pie. All right, probably like 8.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's right, but let me see. How many apples does it take to make an apple pie?
yeah. I don't really understand that. How does that test for introverted intuition?
I don't think it does. I just throw it, just throw it to the
Oh, it out.
wall
Okay.
and see what sticks. Make an apple pie. Let's find out. It takes 5 to 6 cups of sliced. Oh, it's equivalent to 3 medium apples. Only 3. We were both wrong.
So one was closer, and you
One was
rejected
closer,
that.
Yes. No, we ain't having one apple.
Yeah.
Come on now. Okay. Well, here's another thing. I'm gonna put a sentence on here. Not a sentence. I'm gonna put all the words in a sentence out of order, and I want you to try to put them in the right order. Okay, and see how long it takes you to convert it from the wrong order to the right order. And this is somebody that I got. This is something I got from a commenter who suggested I ask this question. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so the first letters are capitalized of each word, so there's no clue from capitalization, the order or anything. Here's the words. I'm going to put them in the chat, and you tell me. Let me get a timer up too, so I can time this. I actually collect a little bit of data on this idea. So when I put it there, I'll put the timer starting, and then you tell me as soon as you can what the sentence says. Okay, so here's the words. Pout, and go. You can say the answer, you don't need to type it out.
Okay. I should have verified. Should have verified before positing. Is it I should have verified before positing the no?
Taylor, are you looking at this test too?
No.
Look at the words, and as soon as you figure out what the sentence is, tell me that you figured it out, but don't say what it is.
I should verify the idea I had before posting it, basically. Is that what I was supposed to do?
Yeah, except you weren't going to say it out loud, but that's fine. I should have verified this idea. I should have verified the idea before. I should have verified the validity of this idea before posting it. I should have verified the validity of this idea before posting it. All right, so here's what I suspect the results of that test suggest. I suspect they suggest that you are an ESFJ. And the reason is this test is presented by the person as a test of TE polar, but I think it's more likely to be an NI polar test.
Okay.
You know what's making this hard for me?
What?
Is he's 16, and he's got that sort of 16-year-old attitude. I mean that derogatorily, but
17.
You know what? Whatever. Right.
The difference.
I assume that after grade school you don't bother with that, but you know, the sort of high school like fuck this shit.
I mean, I don't get that vibe from him. I think
it's not negative. It's just give me something that excites you, that you're pumped up about it, that you think is awesome. Nothing's awesome when you're 16 or 17, except for like getting drunk more.
I don't know if I agree with that.
What's awesome?
I guess hanging out with friends, probably. Creating a film with friends. Yeah, drinking's awesome, but I mean, there are plenty of other things that are awesome as well.
Um. So,
Like,
do you want to? What are your goals?
Yeah, movies.
Of,
Movies are cool.
what would you most like to achieve in life? In if you were to be super successful at one thing, what would it be?
Um, Recognition for film work, for
Okay.
films, for creating
Okay.
films.
And what sort of creative vision do you bring to your movie making?
What sort of creative vision do I bring?
Like, do you have
Well,
something you're trying to do with your films in general, or is each film a completely independent from each other film, or do you have an idea of what comprises good filmmaking versus what comprises bad filmmaking, something like that?
I would say each film is a distinct entity. When you're getting into the mechanics of it, there are certain things that qualify as craft, like the actual crafting of a good film, whereas you don't want to really waste too much time on certain shots. You want to be able to use the right shots in certain scenarios. You want to just, I guess, intensify what each scene is trying to do through different mediums like music, holding long, trying or directing the actors to convey certain moods. Those are just the technicalities, but as far as ideas go, it's usually completely centered around the premise of the film. Um, and once I have that premise, I build the plot around it, but I'm never fully cemented inside the idea because usually when I start working on it, more ideas start to come, and I always implement those. So I'm always careful as to how far I take things at the beginning stage of creating the film.
Okay, I want you to right now put yourself in the position of I've come to you, you're a consultant, I'm asking you, how do I do my YouTube channel better to make it more effective in terms of getting views and whatever? Do you have any suggestions? Are you familiar with it enough to give me any suggestions about it?
Um, well, I would say, well, how many? What do you particularly, or what do you usually upload? Like the length of your films. What do you? What is your topic usually on? What is your audience? Those are questions I would ask first.
Okay, do you know the answers to those questions for my channel?
Oh, for your. Well, I would say probably shorten the length of your videos.
Okay.
And I mean, your info is already extremely good, so it would have to be just presentation shit like thumbnails, maybe more aesthetically pleasing thumbnails, maybe more catchy titles, and you know a more C.S. Joseph like presentation, if you will.
More whiteboards.
Yeah, more whiteboards and more hey guys, definitely.
Taylor, you got any thoughts on what that reveals about his stack or anything?
No, because it's. I mean, it's. He's right. I mean, it's just. Yeah, I don't think that that's super insightful on the stack. Okay. Let me back up. I don't think there's a lot of NE there. I think there's more TE and SE.
I was gonna say it seems like demonstrative TE to me.
Right. And just a quick question: What do you have a favorite director?
No, but
Tarantino or Guy Ritchie?
I've seen more Tarantino, so probably Tarantino, but I've never actually deliberately thought of that. Like, Tarantino's my favorite director, but no, I would say Tarantino.
Eric, what do you think about Quentin Tarantino movies? That's they're pretty SE-ish. A lot of violence and shit.
I mean, I love.
Yeah, I do like a lot of artistic type films as well, though.
I loved Pulp Fiction when it first came out. I thought it was
Yeah,
absolutely genius. I
yeah.
haven't seen all of his films. I did see Jackie Brown. Can you mute Taylor? You're making a lot of background noise.
Sorry.
Um, Jackie Brown, I thought, I guess, was pretty good. I saw another one of his or something, but
Have you seen that? Go on.
I would not say that. I think while his films may very well appeal to censors and may include a lot of sensory elements, he's definitely an intuitive, and those are an intuitive's work, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's ENFP.
Maybe. I have
Possibly.
never really seen an interview with him or anything, but
That's what he's listening to.
I'm just basing it on the snappiness of the writing and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
okay.
Have you seen Reservoir Dogs?
No, I've never seen that one actually. Everyone says
Yeah,
that's the one you should see, but I haven't seen it.
right.
Oh, I did see Kill Bill, Volume One,
Yeah.
not two.
Which seems the most intuitive of all of his.
I don't. I
It's got
don't.
a little healthy detachment from,
Which?
and it just female assassins,
Oh yeah.
female ninja assassins. That seems pretty any.
Yeah. Okay, so what are your thoughts about FI based on? It seems like you understand functions pretty well, or understand them basically as I understand them, and um, so what are your thoughts about your own introverted feeling? Tell me, how many different emotions do you experience over the course of a given week?
um, Laughter. Um, laughter. I mean, being focused. That's not an emotion, but I mean, that's an experience. Would you qualify that as an emotion? As like it's attached to a certain emotion that I'm drawing a blank here. I'm not sure.
uh, how many different emotions do you think there are total in the world?
Well, there's probably a lot. Okay, yeah. So I probably don't experience too many emotions, or I wouldn't say so. Um, I mean, yeah. There's, I've been angered before, but yeah. I mean, I'm not sure.
What's something that might make you angry?
Oh, probably like a teacher. Like I've had experiences before where teachers are just telling me to do things that don't make much sense, as in they're treating me unfairly, or like for instance, like I was in a class and I was on my phone, and everyone else was on their phone, but for some reason, me in particular, she was telling me to get off my phone, and I don't, it was unjustified,
I see.
and that made me mad, like extremely mad.
Sure. Uh, did she not want to engage in a back and forth with you about it?
Yeah, yes, it was just like no, get off your phone, I'm the teacher, that kind of shit.
That's
So
pretty.
you can't challenge my opinion on that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Do you recall being sad on some occasions? Surely you've been sad before.
Right. When I was a little kid, I had this little hamster, and when he died, I was very sad for a long time. That's something that comes up immediately. Um,
Okay. Talk to me about your self care protocols and your relationship with things like rest, eating, drinking, uh, keeping track of your assignments you've completed, stuff like that.
yeah. So okay. So would you classify SI as temporalities that we as a tribe of human beings have agreed to attend to? Would you say that's a good description of SI?
No, it's a terrible description
No?
of SI.
Terrible. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
SI is your experience as a way of knowing things. An SI person will know the experience first and extrapolate out the idea. So I might present an idea as ISFJs are like this. And then I might give an example. For example, the other day, Kimberly, meanity, meanity, meow. Okay? Really, it worked the other way around in life. It was, I noted the example, and I said, I wonder if this is reflective of a pattern in ISFJs. And then I checked that thought against my other thoughts to see if it was consistent. Oh, it is consistent. It doesn't create any contradictions. I'll present it as though it were a pattern. That's using SI. It's really about being anchored in experience. So if you ask me where an idea that I came up with came from, soon enough after I ask it, if you wait too long, I'll forget, but
Yeah.
I'll be able to trace back the steps of exactly where that idea came from. Well, I saw this thing, and that caused me to associate to this thing, and then, okay? So, in that regard, SI is about keeping track of your existing resources, namely the resources that accumulate from your experience. As you have experiences, you accumulate memories. From each of those memories, you can draw a universal rule and say this is representative of a universal rule. So, for example, if one time you go into a class and instead of saying hi, Mrs. Smith, you slap her on the ass and it doesn't go well, you'll maybe make a universal rule out of that and say don't slap Mrs. Smith on the ass, or maybe even a more universal rule: don't slap anybody on the ass when the teacher in the front of the room or something. Whatever your rule you make out of it, that's born of your experience if that's how you got to the rule. Now, if you got to the rule before you had the experience, then that would be an NI approach to it. Everybody approaches everything both ways, except if you're polar SI, you barely approach it experientially at all. And if you're polar NI, you barely approach it universally at all.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, back to your question. It was just, so as regard with my experience, I mean, my room is pretty cluttered. It's disorganized. As far as schoolwork goes, I usually either don't complete it at all or complete it last minute, like, the day before it's due. Or I just, copy off a friend who's, has the answers. Any other SI questions?
I want you to think of it, something you did yesterday that's fairly mundane. Maybe, let's see, yesterday was Thursday. Something you did after school that involved another person, at least. It was just not on the internet. I'd like you to recount for me as many specifics from that event as you can until you either run out of them or it's clear you have lots of specifics.
Okay, so it was after school. Me and my friends were driving to Chick-fil-A. Immediately, once we were around that area, we saw just how many cars and how packed it was. So for some reason, we proceeded to go into the parking lot. We parked the car, got out, walked through the crowd of people into the restaurant. And as we opened the door, we saw that there's just this crowd, this huge herd of, bodies and people talking. So we were like, okay, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to eat here. Let's go to the Chick-fil-A across Parker Road or whatever. Okay, yeah, that's a lot, right?
You
Yeah.
have to, I mean, Taylor, can you do that about something yesterday? Now, this is a tricky thing. 4/5 slot, we basically can do both. I can do NI fine. I can do SI fine. But Taylor, I bet, can you give me something like that too?
Bring it back up to speed. Sorry, I'm multitasking.
So I asked him if he could give me a specific example from yesterday of something he did, and about that event, give me as many specific details as he possibly could. And so he talked about going to Chick-fil-A and being in the car, and how the friends and him, when they drove up, there was a big crowd, and he was like, oh, fuck, let's not go through the drive-thru because there's a huge line there. And so then they went inside, and there was a big crowd in there when they walked in, and he started giving me a bunch of specific details like that. So can you do that, and let's see how similar your ability levels are in that?
Yeah, yesterday, I'll just do the same thing. When I went to lunch, I wasn't super hungry at noon because I ate a fucking burrito at 9. So I went down to Armourdale, which is kind of in the hood. There's a hole in the wall called Rosie's. and or Daisy's. I'm sorry, Daisy's. Went to Daisy's because yesterday was taco day. They had taco specials. Each taco is $1.25. So
Interesting.
pulled up.
It's very different so far, though. But continue. Let me hear more details, and I'll come back and go talk about the difference. Go ahead.
Pulled up in front. There's only 2 parking spots in front of the store, or you got to park in the neighborhood, which is also the place where my car got shot up. But I did get the second parking spot in front of Daisy's. Went in, ordered 4 shredded beef deep fried tacos, and paid the lady. And while they were making them, I kind of stood back and walked over to the little salsa bar because I was going to get my little to-go things with salsa. But there's a person standing there taking forever. I kind of walked up on him too fast and scared him a little bit.
Okay.
So I paced back.
Okay. The thing I noted at first that was a distinction was that you had more NI details intermixed in among the SI details than he did. That's one distinction I noted at first. But then by the end of it, you were doing what he was doing, which is giving the actual details of the event. At first, you talked about relevant factors before the event, like the fact what you had eaten before, yada yada. And then you also mentioned like that neighborhood was a place where you got shot. That's more; those are more NI relationships with it. But then you fell into the groove of it and went SI the rest of the way. You went SI the whole way, but it's not definitive enough for difference to say really. So basically, that's not a way we can distinguish between ENTPs and ESTPs because I sound basically the same as Taylor sounds as you sound. So it doesn't tell us much about it.
I'm going to toss out that if we're on the fence between those 2 types, I think that he's my type. Because, you and fucking, goddamn Becky. You and Becky have a conversation tempo that you don't have with me or with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, I mean, that's kind of subjective, but there's just, I think that he's ESTP over ENTP for sure.
I mean, I'm leaning that way too, but he's leaning ENTP.
I just think qualitatively, I just don't resemble the ESTP archetype. I mean, I'm not sure.
I mean, really, that archetype is a fucking idiot, right? ESTPs are retards, but they're really good at sports. In most of the type descriptions I've seen.
Here's the thing with us. My daughter is an ESTP, and she's extremely bright. And she, in a lot of ways, like you, she's perfectly capable of doing all the ideational stuff. And she's not like Becky, exactly. You know, Becky and me are what it's like when 2 ENTPs are talking about it, which is you are. There is a huge fucking problem with the type descriptions because everybody who's like Taylor or you self-identifies as an ENTP and has plenty of type description evidence to back them up.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So you identifying as ENTP, I mean, I think EJR&D typed as ENTP before ESTP. I did ACE. I mean, fucking ACE.
It's the right
He's not an ENTP.
It's the right TI decision based on the information you have in general across the internet about the type. You're making the right decision to type yourself as an ENTP. But what I've discovered, in large part through Taylor, but also with a couple of other people, like realizing my daughter was an ESTP, is that just because somebody can keep up ideationally with me doesn't mean they're intuitive.
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down to. You can keep up ideationally with me. In other words, I can't explain the ideas too fast for you to understand. And that means you're a TI tool user. But at the same time, you are not eager to show me how clever you are. You do not delight in the opportunity to show me how clever you are. And the thing is, it's in a lot of ways a much more successful and effective way of being clever is to play it a lot cooler. You are pretty damn cool. You know, it's like by any objective standard, you know, your FE is on point. You know, it's like I'm sure that you drop as many panties as you're inclined. So the thing is, I'm not like that, right? There's this fundamental quality about me that's more grasping in terms of and less self protected, right? ENTPs don't do a very good job of protecting themselves on the language realm because they're accustomed to always being able to win all those battles. ESTPs don't need to protect themselves in other ways because they understand the power of action, whether it's physical or not.
SC is hard to describe. I mean, it's so fucking visceral.
Okay. So, okay, yeah, what you said makes sense as to why ESTPs would think they're ENTPs based off of type descriptions.
Only
Which are
some of them, the smart ones.
some.
I mean,
The smart one.
Yeah, ESTPs come in more than one degree of competence in their TI and prioritization in it. It depends how they get accustomed to using it. It seems to me that there's a kind of ESTP that gets accustomed to using it purely for conquering purposes, and then there's another kind that's interested in not being conquered ideationally, and it's that latter kind that is going to mistake themselves as ENTPs. Would you say that's true,
Okay.
Taylor? What I just said? If you heard it, he's not listening. Okay, so here's the thing: when you feel restless in class or something, do you feel restless sometimes?
I would say I do. Yeah.
What describe to me the restlessness? What makes you restless, and what do you want to be doing instead, or what do you wish you could do? Walk me through that mental process. You sit in class and you're bored. What's going on in your head and soul?
Well, okay, so usually when I'm restless, I'm just sick of doing the work. I'm tired because I didn't, get enough sleep. Or I just want to be doing something else, like reading a book or like a book I've been reading, book I'm interested in, topic I'm interested in. Usually I just go on my phone if I just don't give a shit about the work. Like, yeah, but primarily it's when I'm tired. I just reject all work that's given to me, and I just go on my phone or listen to music or just sleep.
Interesting. So, when you Google something on your phone in class, or when you go on your phone, do you mean when you say you go on your phone? Do you mean you like text other people, like, or do you
Yeah,
mean
or
Google shit?
yeah, or like on Reddit, or like yeah, if I have text messages, I'll text people. But yeah, usually I'm on Reddit.
What kind of subjects do you read on? What subreddits do you look at?
I'm on the home page. Well, okay, so as far as what I'm subscribed to, like shower thoughts. I watch a lot of UFC. Obviously some MBTI pages.
I like UFC a lot too.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It's like I enjoy watching. The thing is, action types have like here's when I asked an ENTJ earlier a question about how. Let me ask you the question. We'll see how it goes before I explain this. Let's say you were leading. You had a leadership position for a group of people. What do you think the two most important things that you could do to effectively lead would be? Like kinds of things. I don't want to give you any choices, but if I have to, I can give you choices.
So if I was leading a group,
You're leading a group. What are the two most important qualities of leadership that you're going to be able to bring to the table? Quality one, and if that doesn't work, I'll go to quality two.
okay, probably what's correct, as in the topic at which we're attending to. What decisions are true and are correct. Like what we are advocating for in this group is legitimate. Because usually I'm the one who's presenting that in like friend groups or whatever. Another
So look,
another
let me give you a situation instead, like this. There's discord within a group. It's a team. The girls soccer team lost their coach mid-season, at the very beginning of the season actually, and the team's in uproar, and the school hired you to be their coach. Now you've got to get that team to be on the same page, and you've got to teach them some skills, and you've got to make sure they've got competitive spirit, and you've got to do all the things you got to do as a coach. How do you get that girls' soccer team to win? What are the two most important qualities you're going to bring to get that team to win?
I would guess strategy, methods, and practice, like pre-game prep, and just going through the motions and practicing whatever skills need to be polished up for us to win the game.
Okay. So when I asked an ENTJ about leadership in her business, she talked a lot about the knowing the correct way to go through a set of like practice moves or whatever. And she talked about knowing how to manage the emotions of the group. And so basically she said interface. So I was just sort of positing that there might be some link there. 1-8 is a way that people tend to respond to that question. But I'd have to come up with a better question for it. What you gave me was, I think, again, demonstrative TE. You approach the question by demonstrating that you know how to parse something out for how to approach a problem and solve it. It's typical for TI second slot to do a lot of demonstrative TE. That is to say, you're comfortable telling other people how to solve problems. You do not like it when other people tell you how to solve problems.
That sounds about right.
But it still doesn't really give us a lot of clarity on ESTP or ENTP. The thing is, I feel very confident in saying ESTP, not ENTP. Unfortunately, I don't feel confident in my ability to give you a set of arguments that is going to win that point all the time, because a lot of it's based on my gut understanding of the. You don't have the same kind of. You have a different palette that you use with your extroverted intuition than extroverted intuition dominants do. Extroverted intuition dominants are less concrete with their extroverted intuition and less purposeful in their conversation in general. And I don't feel that there's a sparkle eye thing that happens with two ENTP. I'm doing another ENTP where I start to smile right away and go, this one's an ENTP. But I don't have that quality with you. In fact, I feel almost it's different than a supervisor relationship, but it's like a mutual respect relationship between ESTP and ENTP that they don't love each other exactly, but they respect each other because the other is the master of the other form of action. So it's like ENTP is master of the word form of action. ESTP is master of the non-word form of action. And and we're both good at the other one too. And so we respect each other because we don't exactly fill each other's niche, but we're close enough that we can understand fully the quality of the execution of the dominant function of the other.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, everything's, yeah. I mean, it seems to be, the two choices are ESTP and ENTP. I mean, and ESTP so far, from what you're saying, seems to be the more plausible type pertaining to me.
Right, and I would say it's very convincing you're one of those two types because I'm getting a lot of FI polar out of you and a lot of TI tool out of you and a lot of 6-slot TE out of you, and so I didn't really look a lot for the third slot FE, but that seems pretty evident too with your socializing focus. I was the same way when I was a teenager. I was much more into socializing. I still am,
Yeah.
but it's a different kind of socializing. Now it's more purposeful, but regardless, you're definitely 2-3 TIFE. So that
Yeah.
there's your two types.
With that FI polar, I do get those. I know you talk about those waves of emotion where it's like hard to control, and whether or not you express that emotion through crying or whatever it may be is dependent on your. Is it your attachment style or how kind of allowed that behavior was when you were a kid in your family?
I think probably the answer to that is yes. But,
Yeah.
But the other answer to that is that your tenders have weather, okay? But it's very fickle weather. It can be perfectly sunny on your tenders one day, one moment, and then a thunderstorm come in the next moment, but it blows right through.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, when there's weather on your tenders, it will dampen them. And sometimes when the terrible things happen, like your hamster dies, you'll even be briefly submerged in a puddle. However, what we have to remember is that everybody else is at the very least swimming in a river.
Right.
So we're lucky, okay? It could be a lot worse.
Yeah. Do you think we're more we have more negative reactions towards those just puddles of emotion just because our nature's so like adverse to it? Like if we're an FI tool user, rather than TI, that would automatically make us more accustomed to, being in those rivers, right? So
They're aquatic
what do you
creatures.
think? Yeah. What do you think about that?
I mean, look, it seems what they get is a more intense understanding of the importance of things. So it's like they get to, in some sense, they get to play in a much bigger league than we do. Like it's like they're playing in the majors, right? And so in their personal self, every pitch that they pitch is magnified in importance. They're always playing in the World Series. But the problem with that is if you're always playing in the World Series, if you're an FI Dom, it starts to weigh on your psyche pretty quickly. It's like, Jesus, everything's so fucking important. And you just get heavier and heavier and heavier. And so when you ask somebody who's an FI Dom, if they're scared of death, they'll usually say no. They might add, I'm scared of it being painful. Because to them, they understand by the time they're 70 or 80 years old, the weight of having lived all that time and experiencing the significance of everything time and time and time and time again has made them weary of life.
Yeah.
It also
Yeah,
makes them careful because they have this thing of putting themselves in somebody else's shoes rather than pretending no people are involved to make a disinterested calculus. So makes everything hard for them to decide. ISFPs are the least troubled by that, but ESFPs, ENFPs, INFPs, they can't decide shit.
Right. Yeah. And I do get those waves of emotion. Like there was a time not that long ago where I felt like crying in front of a group of people, but I just, repressed it back.
Right. I mean, a lot of times that's when you're most likely going to feel the need to cry is because you're fighting some battle and the FE is turning against you is going to be a deeply troubling moment for either an ESTP or an ENTP. We got to save face, number one. We got to save face.
Yeah.
It matters a shit ton what others perceive of us. And that's okay. And we don't have to buy into any of that, like, don't care what other people think bullshit.
Right.
We just have to do a good job of managing their perceptions. That's all.
Right. We have to make sure they don't think we do care.
I mean, really, you got to meta up a level and go, well, it's my nature to care, to mention it in passing, but then display that you don't really care. And the thing is,
Right.
it's easy to display that you don't really care for me anyway. I'm not sure about how this plays out for ESTP exactly, but when something gets TI, when something crosses my TI, it annoys me. And I'm going to point out that this is illogical, even if it has negative FE effects. So a lot of people tell me I have bad FE because I can be combative. But what they don't understand is that I'm only concerned about the larger FE equation. I want to be perceived well overall. I'm okay with
Yeah.
sacrificing being perceived well in the moment. I suspect
Right.
it's similar for ESTP.
Yeah. I do that as well. Like in an argument, yeah, I'll sacrifice that fee in the moment just to be right.
But I bet you keep track of it.
Right. I do keep track of it. I do keep track of that as a larger whole, and where this relationship or where these perceptions are going in time, like through different recurrences and stuff, and how different events are gonna raise my FE or lower my FE or things like that.
Well, here's a good piece of news for you. I'm going to go ahead and say your ESTP is my official typing of you, but the good news is filmmaking. It's better to be an ESTP because, like, one thing I don't pick up on are really any FEQs, physical FEQs, beyond that are in the positive realm. So I will notice FEQs that suggest to me that I'm doing something wrong, that someone's annoyed with me. It's any whole range of negative possible things. I will pick up on those physical cues usually, and then if I don't pick up on those, then it's like okay, I can stop paying attention to their physical cues entirely. That's going to make me a less effective filmmaker in a lot of ways, in terms of understanding what I'm trying to get out of the actors. Now, it might not impact anything in terms of the writing, because the writing is going to be snappy, but I won't understand it. I won't understand how to. I won't understand the range of expression of FE that the ESTP does in actual time. I'll understand it maybe a little better in terms of the abstract in like poems and stuff, but ESTP will understand it in people better. So that's an advantage, I think, given that most film needs to be
Right.
emotionally engaging for people to want to watch it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's why ESTPs also can pick up on chicks better than ESTPs, because I don't trust physical cues in general, even though that's exactly what you should trust when picking up on a chick. But an obvious physical cue is inherently unreliable to me, just as emotions are, because it's not expressed in words, and only words matter. So it's like if a chick gives me some obvious physical cue nowadays, I would recognize it because I'm old and I know a little bit better. When I was younger, I'd be like, but what does she mean when she smiles at me and uncrosses her legs and stuff? It could mean any number. It could just be a coincidence. I have no way of knowing for sure that she meant for me to
Yeah.
notice that. She could have noticed. She could have been something else. I do that until fucking all opportunity was lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely don't have that issue. Like, I can tell physical cues, and I know what they mean. Um,
I also
trying
make
to
a
think.
point in general of not looking at people when I'm talking to them in person. Because the reason is I feel as though I am not paying full attention to them when I'm not paying full attention to listening to them. And to pay full attention to listening to them, I look down at the ground a lot of times. So I don't want the visual stimulation interfering with my auditory processing.
Right. Right. I'm trying to just see in my experience if these things are things I can relate to. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, listen, you're going to probably have to think about this for a bit. There's a lot of information. I will share the video with you so you can rewatch it if you want to. And if you have follow-up questions or something, please feel free to email me. That is included in this, is that I expect people to have at least some follow-up questions afterwards, because I know people have to think about shit for sleep on it and then come back. I will make a
Yeah.
video that's either just a video that I Google Drive shared to you, it just answers your questions directly, or if they're interesting enough, then I might make a video about it for the channel. If it works as a dual purpose thing without, I don't know how careful you are about confidentiality stuff or whatever. So
If you want to upload this, you can.
okay, cool. I will for sure. Then I'll just upload it and publish it instead of sharing it with you.
Yeah.
Publicly. Okay, cool. I will do that.
Yeah, I want more insight. You know.
I will upload it publicly. I will say in the description, or they'll hear it in this too, that you would like to receive comments from people what they think you are. I will say to the viewing audience, my official typing of him is ESTP. However, unlike maybe 80% of the time, I'm not going to say to him, I'm 100% about this, and there's no doubt about it. About 80% of the time I can do that. With him, I can't really do that because I don't have a definitive way yet to distinguish between ESTP and ENTP. But trust me, he's not an ENTP. He's an ESTP. All right, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And thank you for letting me publish this with sauce. And Kimberly was right. You're not a chick.
Yeah, no.
You confused me in that comment a little bit. I think I misread that part.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, cool. Nice meeting you, and see you later.